India's Supreme Court has ordered the government to restore the internet in Kashmir, ruling that the communication shutdown was unconstitutional. Prime Minister Narendra Modi's government had shut down mobile and internet networks back in August to try to quell unrest after it stripped the region of its autonomy.
Kashmir has been under a security lockdown for more than 5 months. The High Court says internet access is a constitutionally protected fundamental right. It
now wants the government to explain the need for all the restrictions it has imposed on Kashmir. More now from our correspondent Neha Punia. Neha, the ruling is a rebuke on Mr. Modi and the government. What does this mean now for him?
This is the sharpest criticism we've heard in the last 5 months since that special status for Kashmir was revoked, and this is important for several reasons. One, Prime Minister Modi's government has maintained all of this while that it was absolutely necessary to keep that entire region under security lockdown and in an information blackout of sorts, saying that there were many elements that were trying to spread misinformation and were trying to drive violence on the ground. The Supreme Court has said that it's important to balance the question of liberty with the question of national security, and that all of these violations, all of these restrictions are essentially against India's constitution, which guarantees right to expression and speech. The government has been accused of abuse of power by the country's highest court. We've not yet heard from Narendra Modi's government. They're saying they will study this judgment in detail and then react, but in a week's time they will be required to file a reply in India's court, in Supreme Court, and explain why it is they felt the need to have this indefinite blackout in place. Prime Minister Modi's party, the BJP, which is in power here in Delhi, has however said that they were anyway relaxing these restrictions very gradually over the last few weeks. For example, they're saying that text messages can now be sent out in the valley, and you also have landlines and mobile phones that are operational, but internet more or less largely is still inaccessible to a vast majority of the people in Kashmir.
All right, so saying that, Neha, do you think then with the top court asking India to review this Kashmir communication shutdown, do you think it's going to pave the way for it to be totally lifted?
Many people in various quarters have expressed disappointment with this Supreme Court judgment. They're saying while they welcome the fact that the Supreme Court has criticized the government, pointed out the ways in which they took illegal steps in the region of Jammu and Kashmir, and that the fact that there was an information blackout was an unconstitutional step. Most people who've reacted to this judgment say the court didn't go far enough. They say they were expecting the Supreme Court to, while saying that these measures were unconstitutional, also lift these restrictions. The court has not done that. It's in fact tossed the ball back in the government's court, saying that it's now up to you to review these restrictions, which we say are illegal and unconstitutional. Many are saying it's like asking a robber to gauge whether or not theft was done correctly or not. And there's a lot of anger online as well, especially from people who live in Kashmir. They're saying they're unhappy with this decision and they were expecting more. It looks like that there will be a review which is court mandated, but it's unlikely that the situation will change on the ground, because the government still maintains there is a credible national security threat, and they maintain that while they have relaxed many of these restrictions gradually, they don't see a need to remove them entirely overnight.
All right, thanks for that update. Neha Punia speaking to us from New Delhi.